but specifically in health and wellness, right? Somebody that is training for a marathon is going to have a very different strength training routine than somebody who is trying to become a bodybuilder, or somebody that's trying to become a strongman, or somebody that's just like myself, just a normal person that's trying to stay healthy, right? So just like with in a lot of things with health and fitness, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, depends on what your goals are, your time frame, your starting point, right? There's so many different variables. So I thought that I would do a quick live on some of those things and answer some like kind of the big hitting questions. So you can strength train every day. I typically go, just because it's something that I enjoy, I'll typically hit probably around 5-6 days a week, give or take, depending on the week. Some days it's as few as 3. Other days it's 6. I tend to take Sundays off just for that's like my universal rest day, as well as like religious reasons and everything. That's my rest day. But sometimes I'll take Thursdays off. Sometimes, depending on how sore I am, I'll take other days off. And so it really just kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So we'll kind of go through it. Statistically, you want to be hitting every body part at least 2 times per week, right? Because if you've been following us for any period of time, you've heard about what's called muscle protein synthesis, or the rebuilding of muscles using protein. Consuming protein increases muscle protein synthesis, but strength training increases muscle protein synthesis. And so that's the way that your body's going to build muscle, which is the goal if you want to burn more fat over time, as well as if you're trying to gain strong lean muscle, you have to build muscle to be able to gain muscle, right? Muscle protein synthesis is really important. So statistically, a lot of studies have come out and said that 2 to 3 times per week, obviously depending on the intensity, is most optimal for that. So depending on how often you are you are wanting to work out, there's a lot of different splits that you can do. But let's say you're only able to get to the gym 3 days a week, then you'll want to do full body every single day, every time that you're at the gym. Let's say you can go 4 days a week, then maybe you do an upper lower split. If you can go 5 days a week, maybe you do push, pull, legs, upper, lower, right? That would be a good way to hit each body part 2 to 3 times per week. And then if you are able to go every single day, then maybe you get into more of a push, pull, legs, and just continue that. But you want to make sure that you give your body ample time to recover. So with the answer being yes, that doesn't mean you go and completely demolish chest every single day for 7 days in a row, or back or legs, right? You have to give your body the ample time to recover. There are individuals out there that would consider what's called overtraining to not be a thing, right? There's no such thing as overtraining, there's just under recovering, right? And I think they mean well by that, but essentially you want to spend as much effort and time in your recovery as you do in the actual activity or strength training portion. I think a lot of people don't spend enough time stretching. A lot of people don't spend enough time with the nutrition, right? Making sure that we're fueling our bodies, making sure we're getting adequate protein, making sure we're getting adequate fiber, and all of those minerals and those micronutrients, as well as focusing on the macros. And so while the answer is yes, and it does depend on your goals, I think a big portion that we should look at is if you are training, let's say, every single day, what your actual recovery looks like when you're not in the gym, right? Are you getting the amount of calories that you need for your goal? Are you getting the amount of sleep that you need? Are you doing the stress management? Are you foam rolling? Are you static stretching? Are you doing the things that are going to allow you to keep up that type of intense routine of 7 days a week, right? Because I think a lot of us know this, but maybe we need to talk about it more, is that recovery side. We think, okay, more is more, but that's not always the case. If you're going in 7 days a week and you're crushing yourself, that's not where the muscles are going to be built. That's not where the results are going to come from in the gym crushing yourself. It's going to be the recovery side, with the nutrition and all of those things to be able to build yourself back up as you rest, right? So when you go to the gym, you tear down the muscle. When you go home and you consume food, protein, carbohydrates, fat, minerals, micronutrients, and then rest, then your body has the ability to build itself back up, and accomplish what you're going for. Because with this question, it seems as if it's, you're trying to do some type of bodybuilding or performance-based goal. And essentially, there's a relationship between muscle anabolism, building the muscle, and muscle catabolic muscle cannibalism, right? In breaking down or building up the muscle. So if your breaking down portion is bigger or more intense or has a higher volume or whatever than your ability to recover in the anabolic side, then you're going to be in a bad spot. However, if the building portion is larger than the breaking down portion, then you're going to be in a good spot. And obviously, like I said, it goes back to what your goals are, right? If you're training for strength, if you're training for hypertrophy or building muscle, if you're training for endurance, there's going to be differences in intensity throughout the workout, how fast you move the weight, how long you rest between sets, how long you rest between exercises, how often you want to train. There's just a ton of variables to consider. So it's a lot more, there's a lot of nuances, but I think somebody who's just starting out, right? Because I want you to definitely get some value from this live. If you're somebody who's just starting out and not trying to become a bodybuilder or strongman or, endurance racer or something like that, and you're just an average individual like myself that's just trying to get healthy and be in a good spot, starting with anything, starting with a walk, starting with watching what you actually consume and paying attention to it and doing it deliberately, that's a great place to start. But if we're talking about strength training, then even if you start with one full body strength training exercise per week is a great place. And then maybe you move it up to 2 times per week. And then maybe you move it up to 3 times per week. If you're only able to get to the gym three days a week, a lot of times I would strongly recommend a full body routine, all 3 of those days, just to maximize that muscle protein synthesis that we've been talking about. Because if you hit, let's say you're trying to do a typical bro split of chest, back, and legs, well then you're only hitting one body part per week, which is not optimal for muscle protein synthesis and actually getting a good stimulus to the muscle to cause that to build up. So I would start with 3 full body strength training sessions per week with the intensity of around 7 to 8 out of 10, meaning you're still leaving a couple of reps left in the tank and not going to absolute failure, but the intensity is still there, right? We got to give the muscle a reason to adapt and to change. And that stimulus will continue to move as you get stronger, as you develop those mind-muscle connections, those neural pathways, as you get more efficient, as your body adapts, that will progressively overload, right? Placing a load on a body system that's greater than it's used to, causing overcompensation, which is the definition of progressive overload, which is what you'd want to try to accomplish with it. So I hope that all made sense. I hope that you gained some value from this live, especially if you watched to the end. But I hope you guys have a fantastic Thursday night. If you're watching it live and if you're watching it on replay, have a fantastic day. And I will check you guys in the next video.